Hi, I'm Shelley Maurer,
And I'm Cher Emmerich. Welcome to Life Lessons from Pickleball,
where we engage with pickleball players from around the world about life on and off the court.
Thanks for joining us. Welcome, everyone, to Life Lessons from Pickleball. Oh, gosh, we are so honored to have with us today professional pickleball player and Pickleball Hall of Famer, Wes Gabrielsen. Wes, you are one of the most decorated players in professional pickleball.
You are an 11-time USAPA national champion, 6-time Canadian national champion, PPA Australia champion, 2-time Tournament of Champions gold medalist, and 2-time US Open champion. Wow.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. And in addition to all of your award-winning playing and your coaching duties, you provide one-on-one lessons and group clinics internationally and throughout the United States. But let's roll back to the very beginning. What was going on in your life when you were first introduced to pickleball?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the podcast. All I'm going to say with all of those accolades is it takes really good partners to get you there. And so I give all the credit to my partners for those titles. So, but thanks to all of them. But thanks for having me. Yeah, pickleball first entered my life in 1998. People feel like the OGs of the sport were the ones that were playing right before COVID. Well, that's not the case. There's plenty of people that were playing open level pickleball long before I got into it. But I was actually introduced in middle school. So I grew up in Salem, Oregon. We had, of course, being in the Northwest, the Seattle area is where pickleball was created. And that trickled down through the school PE classes and throughout the Northwest. So I was a 7th grader at Judson Middle School in Salem. And my PE teacher said, hey, we're going to play pickleball today. We played with a wood paddle. We played with an outdoor duraball on a gym floor. So you can imagine how quick the rallies were. There wasn't a lot of control, and we didn't know dinking. We didn't know any of that stuff. I played a little tennis growing up at that point, so we were just playing tennis on a pickleball court. And yeah, I've been, I guess, playing since 1998.
So did you keep playing? Because we've heard a lot of people say, yeah, I was introduced in school, but then I didn't pick it up for another 10 years or something.
So I played through high school because we had, again, classes. I remember us competing for like Seattle Seahawks hats and things our PE teacher would bring in. But I played up through high school. And then when I went to college, I played college tennis at a Division III school here in McMinnville, the town I live in, called Linfield College. And we had a pickleball class at Linfield, and our women's coach was teaching the class. So when we had rainy days and we had practice canceled, we would go audit the pickleball class, and she would she'd kind of push all of us tennis guys down to the last court and let us roam free. So I kept playing that. And then I started my professional career as a teacher and a high school coach. So I took like 3 or 4 years off. And my tennis partner was the one who got me back into pickleball. Probably would have been 2010. And pickleball legend, someone I think should be in the Hall of Fame, Christine Barksdale, lives in Arizona now. And we go to this elementary school. I show up. I'm expecting a wood paddle, a duraball. We still have the gym floor. She hands me a Pro Light Magnum, which is a high-end paddle back then, and this soft wiffle ball. And I say to the people in the group, does anyone want to play singles? And they looked at me like I was insane because everyone was playing doubles. And the rest is history. I was hooked.
Wow. So you've been playing for a long time, and you've seen a lot of changes in the game. How do you feel about those?
Ooh, how much time do we have?
Got a half hour. Let's go for it.
I've got a lot. I've got a lot of feelings about some of the changes. I think paddle technology, I feel like up to a certain point has been good. The evolution. I feel like it's a little interesting these days. I think it's a little bit easier if you come from a very high level of sports, especially racket sports, to come in and make a quick ascension in the pro ranks. It doesn't mean those players haven't put in the time, because of course they have.
Sure.
I would like to see it ease off a little bit in terms of power, more so from a safety standpoint, especially for amateur players. I feel like paddles are a little poppy these days, and beginner players really need to learn how to play the soft game, how to have ball control before they ascend to a more powerful paddle. Um, Aside from that, I feel like most of the changes have been fantastic. The accessibility to court space, as brutal as COVID was for the US and the world from a health standpoint, the amount of people that are playing now as a result of that time period, it's amazing. And I think we owe a lot to that time period where there wasn't a lot to do inside. So people went outside and they were active.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I'm kind of happy that all these changes have happened and that boom happened post COVID, because I left a 15-year education career as a high school teacher and a high school and college tennis coach, and have been coaching professionally the last 4 years, along with kind of a second wind of a playing career where there's now these international opportunities to go play, make money playing again, and see different parts of the world. So 99% of the changes I love.
So what year did you go pro as a player?
The very first pro pickleball tournament was an invite event in 2013. I was so new to this space, I wasn't invited because I really hadn't competed outside of the Northwest. They didn't fill the tournament with all the invitees. And so my mixed doubles partner, Christine Barksdale, who got me into pickleball at that level, got invited. She brought me in. And so I was lucky enough to play in that first tournament in 2013 called the Tournament of Champions, which still, I don't know if it happened this last year, but it still was happening through 2023 and became part of the PPA tour. So that I was lucky enough to be at that first tournament when we had maybe 10 teams in the draw for all the pro events. It was very small.
And then from that point on, were you full-time? At what, I'm trying to understand, when you left teaching, is that when you went pro?
So I think pro pickleball was born in 2013. So I still played pro pickleball tournaments while I was a full-time teacher and a coach.
Oh, wow.
So I think there weren't as many tournaments available. In addition to the prize money piece, wasn't quite what it is today. So I would play in the summertime, and then my principals actually were kind enough to let me take a week off in November every year to go play the U.S. National Championships. So 2013 is technically when I went pro, but left teaching at the end of 2021.
Well, thank you for teaching, for being a teacher. Shelley was a teacher, even started a school. My son's a teacher, so teachers have our heart.
Well, thank you. I come from a long line of teachers, so I have to owe it to my parents and my grandparents who also taught.
Brilliant, brilliant. So we actually know a number of the people that you play with. We were talking about just before we started this, PJ, Purple Jesus, Max, and Dino, and Diane Baumgartner, who we just interviewed. So it's so fun to have. It's like a small or big family, actually, with all the people that you come across.
Yeah, it's a small world, but it's a big family too at the same time.
Big family, exactly. So are there some common threads among those that are in the pro circuit with you, that personality or kind of life experiences, or is it varied? Is there a lot of variation?
I think there's a lot of variation, and I just want to define it real, explicitly here. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself anymore like a full-time touring pro, because you have a lot of people playing APPs every tournament and PPAs. I'm a little more selective with what I play these days based on the length of time, and we're not getting younger every year, so I got to be smart about which tournaments I play and space them out. And so it's really interesting because I feel like pre-COVID, it was still a pretty tight-knit group, and now you have so many pro pickleball players that it's
Yeah.
hard to keep track. I mean, I feel like every week on the PPA tour, there's a new face, there's a new name
Yeah.
that comes into the ranks and surprises everyone. Maybe not the community that they come from, but that's really been fun to see. And to go to these
Mhm.
different countries and play and coach like I have the last couple years, it's really been wonderful to see the variation of personalities, playing groups, training groups, styles, and backgrounds.
In fact, you just got back from India, I
I was
think,
in India the first 2 weeks of February. Yes.
of
Hmm.
February. So I lived in India for a lot of my
Okay.
childhood, and Shelley's been there for as
Mhm.
well. And so we have a heart for
Mm.
India. So
Yes.
tell us about that
Well,
experience.
it was pretty incredible. There were, I should say, three pro pickleball leagues that were started this year, and I happened to be
Oh,
lucky enough to get selected and drafted into the Global Sports League. And so I went for a couple days ahead of time and did some coaching actually. And then when all the players arrived, we had 10 teams of 6 players, and most of the
wow.
teams had at least one player from India on the team. The teams varied, again, 6 players per team. A lot of Americans came over. Teams
Huh.
varied in terms of the separation between genders. Some teams had 3 men and 3 women. Some had 4 men and 2 women. And then there was one team that had 2 men and 4 women. So it was all dependent upon the draft choices of the team owners. And essentially, it was really fun to be on a team with a lot of players who I'd played against in the US, but had never partnered with or spent a lot of time with.
Oh,
Oh,
fun.
And we
oh,
played in Mumbai, and it was a week-long event. We had the team competition at night, and then there was an Indian Open in the morning. So we were playing 2 tournaments within 1 week. So it was a lot of pickleball. Uh,
it's a lot
Oh,
of
those of
fun.
us that are blessed to be over 30, we got to qualify for the 30 and over brackets, which most of the pros in the league were not. So I think I counted 45 matches I played during the week.
Oh my
wow. That
gosh.
is a lot.
Oh
So
my
let's just say I got a
gosh.
lot of sleep on the flights home. Um, but yeah, it was a great experience. The league was wonderful. Uh, I got to meet tons of players from around the world. Connect with some future coaching clients. So people young pros in India that are going to come over and spend some time with me in the States. And we got to do a little bit of sightseeing. We were pretty jam packed with pickleball, but I'm going to tell you, pickleball in India is on the rise and it is booming, both from a participation standpoint and a skill standpoint. There are a lot of really talented players.
That's so good to
Yeah,
hear.
The opportunities that pickleball brings to your life are
it's
incredible,
been pretty amazing couple
aren't they?
years.
Yeah.
So where else have you been internationally?
So, 2024. So last year I played in the Major League Pickleball Australia League. So they had a league, and
Oh,
there was one international player allowed per team. Some teams didn't draft an international player. They had players from Australia, New Zealand, and Asia. But there were 2 seasons, and I was lucky enough to get picked for both. So we played an event in Sydney. Got to go to Sydney. I went to Auckland, New Zealand. I went to
oh,
Brisbane
beautiful.
twice, and then we played an event in Vietnam. Now,
Wow.
Vietnam was
Ooh.
hot.
Oh,
It
Ah,
was very hot and humid, but it
oh
was
yeah.
wonderful.
oh, I
Hot
bet.
and muggy.
Oh,
So,
I don't
yeah.
think we've ever sweated that much playing pickleball, even in Florida.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I believe
So,
that.
yeah, it was just amazing. It was an
So,
amazing. It was hard to be away from home that much, but uh, I made it work where I would be gone for a couple weeks and then I'd be home for about a month and a half in between.
That's the best part of pickleball. Even if we're not invited to be in professional tournaments, when we travel, we can take our paddle with us and always
Exactly.
find fun pickleball
Yeah, and
opportunities,
just the
right?
connections we've all
Uh,
made. India was
Yes.
really fun for me because I knew most of the American pros there, and that was one world for me. And then I'd spent that year in Australia, and there were a lot of Australians and Asian players. So it was like two worlds colliding for me in India. It was really fun to see partners from one league meet partners from the other, and it was just a great experience.
Is there any difference in the rules in these different countries? Does everybody follow the
Yeah.
same expectation
The
rules and
only
all that?
difference would be, in the Major League Pickleball Australia and then the Global Sports League, for the team event, we use rally scoring. But for all of the, the PPA Australia pro events and then the Indian Open, we used standard scoring.
And explain the two.
So rally scoring.
Explain for those who don't know.
Rally scoring would be that every rally that is played is worth a point. In traditional scoring, if you're the serving team, let's say you serve, the return comes back, and you missed your third shot into the net, you're not penalized in traditional scoring or standard scoring. But in rally scoring, you would be penalized a point. So it really,
the other team
it really puts an emphasis on consistency, but you have to find how to control your aggressive play, because you don't want to err on the side of being too cautious or too aggressive. You have to find the happy medium.
Because every point counts.
Yeah, and I think a lot of players, it's a good benefit for especially emerging pros, because like I said, we were playing regular scoring during the morning, and then nighttime you got to shift to a different scoring method. So it's a good practice and discipline to know when to be aggressive and when to be a little less aggressive.
And the people you coach right now, are they different ages or primarily a certain age that
all
you're
over
coaching?
So I was just over at the Oregon coast at a place called Salishan Resort over in Lincoln City area. And so I had a couple of clinics, and it was mostly people over 50 that were in the 3.5 to 4.0 range of players. I've got a couple lessons actually tonight with some players who are more in the 4.5 and 5.0 range, and they're a little bit younger. So I think at the moment I teach a lot of different ages and skill levels, but I definitely focus more on my private lessons on the upper level players, and the big clinics are traditionally more the intermediate level players.
Do you have some stories from all your adventures around the world, or even coaching, that kind of inspire or are funny? Or
that might be different. Yeah, some we can't tell. I think I get asked a lot, what are your favorite tournament experiences? I always go back to any time when we were blessed to have USA Nationals at Indian Wells Tennis Garden, where every year they have the big ATP and WTA tennis tournament that's actually going on right now. To be able to play pickleball there at the location where these elite tennis players are, and the center court that they built out for us every year, any chance I got to go play on that court, where you think about a traditional pro tournament where you might be playing in front of a couple hundred people in the stands, to now you're on center court at Indian Wells and there's 6,000 to 8,000 people in the stands, and it's nighttime and the lights are on. That's actually when I feel the calmest, because I love it. I love it. I think you get to that point, you get on that court, and honestly, you got nothing to lose, because that's the pinnacle for us up until we moved away from that venue. That was the pinnacle of our sport professionally. Playing on that court in front of all those people was such a thrill. And I'll tell you what, I won some matches on that court, but I lost a lot of close matches on that court. I still enjoyed it either way. To be able to look up and see 50 to 100 people from Oregon who I knew that were there rooting for my partner and I, and we could hear them in the stands, and we could look exactly and figure out where they were. Like that was so thrilling. And I remember we had one match in particular where I was playing with Eric Lang, who now plays with Max, with Purple Jesus. And Eric and I played against Jay DeVilliers and Tyson McGuffin in the second round of nationals. We had a packed stadium. I think they beat us like 11-9 in the third game. And the four of us at the end all hugged each other. Of course, we were disappointed that, we didn't win and they won. But we all looked at each other and said, how amazing was this experience to get to play against two friends, the sport we love, in front of all these people who are having a great time. you know. And so I
Oh,
always enjoyed playing there, and I really hope someday we go back, because I think for a lot of American pros that have been playing for a while, that was our favorite place to play.
well, we'll put that out to the universe.
Appreciate it.
And so what are some of the life lessons that you've either maybe as a teacher or as a coach or in your general life, you have these life lessons that you find yourself using while you're on the court, or lessons that you actually learned while you were playing on the court and you're using them in your
Sure.
life?
I mean, I feel like I've always been a fairly patient person being in the education field, but with dinking and the metaphor and just, comparison between being patient when you dink and patient with people in your lives, I think we can learn a lot from that. Um, there's a
Yeah.
drill I like to do with my students, and when I drill, called the Spanish fighting drill. It's not as
Oh,
combative as it seems, but essentially it's a dinking drill where you are playing just in the kitchen with one player. Let's say, Shelly, you and I are playing, and there's a 20 ball rally, and I hit number 21 into the net. You collect all 20
oh,
points. So every dink is worth a
oh,
point, and it teaches you to be patient, but also to stay mentally tough, physically tough. And I think that's a great connection between the patience that we need in the sport and the patience you need in life, because there are times where you're very frustrated with people, but you just have to stick with them, give them some grace. And I think dinking has
yeah,
taught a lot of people how to be more graceful and appreciative of life and patient. You can try that drill
for
if you want.
sure. So wait,
Yeah,
what's the
we
goal?
will.
Do you try to get
Try
to
to get to
100 or
100. Yeah.
something? What's
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah. It
good.
was
I
a
like
tennis
that.
drill that I
Wow.
used to use with my high school kids, and I had implemented in pickleball. But again, I think that's been a great patience piece. Again, a good lesson. Um, I think
Hmm.
learning how to interact with different people. All right. You think about
Mm.
tournament partnerships, but also when you go to open play, when you go to round robins, you got people from all different backgrounds,
Yeah.
ethnicities, political beliefs, religious beliefs, all of those things. And the common thread is pickleball. And you have to,
Hmm.
again, if you're not a patient person and you're not accepting, pickleball can help you embrace everyone. Or else it's going to be hard to live in the pickleball world, because everyone is pretty patient and nice, right? And accepting,
Yeah,
It's
or
so
they should
true.
be.
it should be.
We tell the story that our coach Madeline Lapke here at Eastside Tennis Center in Kirkland, she when she first started playing, she would ask people, "Do you play pickleball? Yes. Are you nice? Yes. Okay, we can play." But that's a got to be nice or you can't play, and that's essentially pickleball community as
Yep.
far as I can tell. I mean, there are a few who haven't quite learned
Sure.
that yet, but that's a life lesson maybe they will learn
Yep.
in time. But
Yep.
Yes.
And I
most
think it all
people,
depends too on people's, what are their goals? I always ask them when people come to me for clinics and
mm,
lesson, what are your goals? Some people want to play tournaments, some people don't. So I think the flip
yeah,
side, if you're playing with someone that's maybe a little competitive during open play, or treating it like the national championship, for them that may be the national championship. And learning
good
how,
point.
as the patient person, to try to give them a little support and grace as they are working through their frustrations. I don't think we look through that lens a whole lot. I think we look more at the other side of that situation. So again, everyone's in it for a different reason,
Mhm.
and yeah.
I
Right.
love that. Thank
Yeah,
you, Wes. I
I
actually
do.
haven't I hadn't looked at it that way. And that's such an
Yeah.
important because it's so much easier to be judgmental about somebody who's being pissy. But but I love that you're saying, "Hey, no, turn it around."
Sure.
Maybe they need
Right.
that extra
Yeah.
grace, you know?
Like we say, we never know someone's
Yeah.
story, right? We
Yeah.
need to be patient with
Yeah.
everyone.
And I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
And
I
it might be
I
really
took that from
important to them.
teaching. We would have students that would act out, students that wouldn't turn in
Ah.
assignments, and they're inappropriate or something, and we get in teachers meeting, and most of us would say, what's the home life like for the kid? Is the kid
Mhm.
Right.
getting fed? Is
Yeah.
the kid getting enough sleep? And so I think I've had practice with that, and folks in education have been lucky enough to go through that thought process, that's allowed me when I am teaching or playing to address that person who's getting agitated, frustrated, and try to help them have a better experience. Sometimes it doesn't work.
So your coach, yeah, but your intention is good. And what a great way to model not just how to play the game, but how to live life. I mean, bless your
Thank
heart.
you.
Thank you.
Not easy sometimes.
So, how can people find you? Because people are going to want a great coach like you or follow you on your play or whatever.
Yeah, so I've got a business website, wesleygabrielsenpickleball.com, and that lists, my coaching services, upcoming clinics, tournaments I'm playing, the sponsors if people are interested in, using discount codes to get some pickleball gear from my sponsors. And so, again, wesleygabrielsenpickleball.com, and then on Facebook and Instagram as well.
My gosh, what an honor to have you on this show with us, Wes. And your wisdom is unbounded. And you've really given me a lot to think about, and I'm gonna think about it after the show too. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Shelley,
thank
how
you.
lucky are we, huh?
So lucky. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Really do. Thanks, Wes. And thank you all. Thank you all for being a part of this show. You got some good coaching tips from Wes today. And I'm going to try that drill too, up to 100. Dinking? Yikes. Well, thank you all. And we look forward to another conversation next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you love our podcast, we'd be so grateful if you'd take a few seconds to follow or subscribe to Life Lessons from Pickleball. This ensures you'll never miss an episode and helps us continue these wonderful conversations.
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, go to the show page and tap the follow button in the top right corner. And on YouTube, click the subscribe button under any of the episodes.
Thanks so much. Hope to see you on the court.